Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for Tuesday, July 11th, regular meeting at 7 p.m. I would ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all for listening in and coming to our meeting tonight. We're, just a heads up, we're going to move to executive session after we do the upcoming meeting announcements. At this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence for our formal call firefighter Roy Reamer. Thank you. Okay, getting into public announcements. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: the 200th anniversary, agricultural, capital improvement, disabilities, elder affairs, energy, finance, Memorial Day Patriot, observance, McQuon School transition, and the Nathaniel Thomas Mill committees. Applications for appointment and info on the committee is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov. Tax bills have been sent out and are due on August 1st. The Treasurer Collector's Office announced that there was a printing error on the tax bills. In the assessment box, the description was incorrectly printed as Demlien, D-E-M-L-I-E-N, when in fact the assessment is for ComPres, which stands for Community Preservation, which has appeared on tax bills since its approval in 2008. The assessment amount is correct on your bills. The Water Department has announced a water restriction which allows for watering with a handheld hose from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Sprinklers are not allowed. Whitman Hanson Will, that's W-I-L-L, which provides summary, secondary, and tertiary opioid abuse and overdose prevention resources to communities, will hold a coalition meeting on Wednesday, July 19th at 6:30 p.m. at the Whitman Hanson High School Library. Please RSVP to Amanda Sandoval at asondoval@hptc.org or follow them on Facebook at Whitman Hanson Will. The Hanson Public Library Foundation will hold its 6th annual trivia night on Tuesday, July 25th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Camp Kewanee. Trivia teams can reserve a table of up to 8 for $150. Individual registration is $20. Popcorn and water are included in the entry fee. Feel free to bring your own snacks. The Historical Commission will have its meeting on July 12th at 7 p.m. Community Preservation will be Wednesday, July 12th at 7 p.m. as well. And Highway Building Committee will be held Monday, July 17th at 6 p.m. at the existing highway facility. The final Plymouth County Reuse Committee will be held Wednesday, July 19th at 4 p.m. Town Hall. And Selectmen will have meetings on July 25th and August 15th at 7 p.m. And now I would entertain a motion to move to executive session for a formal roll call vote.
So moved.
To conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and further to conduct strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Administrative personnel, dispatchers, fire, highway, and police unions.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Yes.
Roll call vote. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
We are now in executive session, and when we adjourn, we will move to our regular meeting and rejoin our community out there. All set. All right, I call the meeting back to order. Thank you all, and appreciate, we have now moved out of executive session into our regular meeting.
Sure.
Mike, with your
Yes.
okay and the selectmen, we'd like to move directly to Chief Mick's police update and then move to TA report. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, sir, I'm fine with that.
Would you be okay? All right, thank you. So, Chief Mix, if you could please, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
I want to come in to discuss a few things that have been going on with the police department. I'm not sure, Mr. McHugh, would you like to start with the...
No, why don't we start with the report?
Okay. First of all, I wanted to point out to the board, I did send you a letter, and I'll summarize it as opposed to read it, about an incident that happened on June 14th, the Dunkin' Donuts over here on Liberty Street. There was an armed robbery, well, an attempt. They didn't actually get anything. The two young people working there did a great job. They managed to get out of there, report it right away, which helped us gather more information quickly. The officers did an outstanding job. The most notable one would be Officer Megan. Officer Megan came to us, maybe 3 years ago from Wellfleet. He's done a great job since he's been here. Quiet. I joke half the time. I forget about him because he's quiet and just does his thing. So he's easy to forget sometimes, and I think he does notice that from me. But I wanted to point out one particular thing he did in this case. On his normal patrol earlier in the evening, he saw a vehicle with a male and a female in it that it didn't sit right with him. He thought they were a little suspicious. He ran the plate, came back to some residents in Quincy. He saw them go into Shaw's. He kind of thought maybe it might be a shoplifting thing or something going on. So he stayed in the parking lot, observed them. They left. Didn't think anything much of it. About an hour later, Dunkin' Donuts gets robbed. The responding officers immediately started gathering evidence, mainly the videotapes from the surrounding businesses, as well as Dunkin' Donuts. The individual that Officer Megan had seen earlier in the night was wearing a rather descript pair of shorts. And although the Dunkin' Donuts robber was masked, he happened to be wearing the same exact shorts. So that was a big key to this. A lot of things you can say are for us is dumb luck, but I think sometimes you make your luck. And in this case, they did. Sergeant Andrews, Officer Vigno, Officer Godwin, and Officer Peterson were also involved. Now, this is the third time we've had a robbery or an armed robbery in the area. Mutual Federal was robbed a little over a year ago, Rockland Trust, and now Dunkin' Donuts. These guys have it down to a science. When they go in, they do a very good job of working together, knowing who has what cameras. They know the town, they know the businesses, and they know the people. And they've wrapped up some of these things really quickly. Now, in regards to this Dunkin' Donuts issue, that required a number of search warrants. I think there was a total of 4, 2 of which were in Norfolk County. They went up to Quincy. They worked with the Quincy police. They ended up arresting the individual and his girlfriend. And while they were doing the search warrant up there, they found evidence that Quincy apparently is going to clear 3 armed robberies in their city. So, it wasn't just our little thing.
Yeah.
There was 4 cleared. Abington's looking at 2 others. So there's potentially 2 more that could be cleared from this incident. Again, they did a great job. When you have a chance, if you want to read the letter, it's in more detail. And they did a great job. And Detective O'Brien did the follow-up. Now, they did this over a 2-day period. On June 16th, ironically enough, while they were all up in Quincy, costing me a ton of overtime, but you got to pay them, and they did a great job, so I don't feel bad paying them. Officer Sullivan and Sergeant Beers got a call for a B&E to a motor vehicle at Shaw's. So right now, I don't understand why. Liberty Street's the high crime area right now. I'm not sure what's going on, but they got some great information from a witness. The dispatcher, David Munn, did a great job getting that information, putting a broadcast out very quickly. The Whitman police stopped them at CVS over on Route 18, and we ended up getting not only the victim's property back, but also property from a number of other vehicle beanies, and Sergeant Calagero also became involved doing a search warrant and some forensic stuff on the cell phones, and he's helping to clear up and get property back to some people. So again, there was some great stuff in a 2-day period that these guys did. The other thing I wanted to tell you about that's been going on, and we've been working on this for about a year, you're constantly hearing about the opioid crisis in Massachusetts. And a few years ago, the officers took on Narcan, nasal Narcan, which reverses the overdose caused by opiates. A lot of police departments were a little skeptical, or there was some pushback. These guys jumped right in. They took it on. They were willing to do that without too many union issues, and they were very, very good about taking that on, and I applaud them for that. There was also some feelings that people have sometimes about why are we doing this, like why are we carrying that, and as I said at the time and still believe, it's not up to us to play God. If we have something that we can save somebody with, obviously we're going to do it. But that started us getting more involved with the opioid, or countering the opioid crisis. Now, possession, when somebody calls and they have heroin or fentanyl legally on their possession, if they call for help, that's been decriminalized. It was decriminalized under the Patrick administration. So we're very limited on what we could do other than try and get them medical help. So next door in East Bridgewater, a group called EB Hope started drop-in centers for families, for people suffering from opiate abuse or substance abuse. It's not just opiates. And they started twice a month having these drop-in centers where there was counselors, there was education. You could get Narcan if you were worried about a family member or a friend. And that led into another group that Plymouth, Carver, and Middleborough Police Department started in the southern part of the county called Project Outreach. They took a different approach. Instead of a drop-in center, when they found out somebody had overdosed, their goal was within 12 to 24 hours is to show up at that person's home with information as well as a counselor and hopefully a space in rehab, a bed. And that became pretty popular. I've been involved with both along the way. Since then, EB Hope and the Plymouth County Outreach Program have merged. The District Attorney, Timothy Cruz's office, as well as the Sheriff's Department, provided funds that we've created a database. So now if somebody overdoses in Hanson, I put it into the database. That may be a resident of Marshfield, or I'll give you an example. We had a Pembroke and a Hull individuals overdosed in town. We put that information in. Pembroke and Hull got the information right away. Within 24 hours, they had officers and counselors going out to try and assist these people. On the flip side of that, we got information that helped us work our way back up the supply chain to then execute a search warrant on Main Street and put another local drug dealer out of business. Again, I applaud Detective O'Brien for his work on that. But I think it's important that you know some of the things that we've been doing with the opioid crisis. I ran the data that was provided to me by Whitman, Hanson, and Will. Actually, they put the data together. I just stole it from them. So it's kind of sad. It's not kind of sad. It's very sad. They ran a 10-year period, 2016 back to 2006. Over that period, it's an average of 2 Hanson residents a year dying. Now, that's not necessarily in Hanson. They overdosed in Brockton or whatever. So we've had we had to put that data together to be able to understand more how it's impacting each community. Now, the plus to that data, if there is any, is I know it's high for 2, but we've actually improved on that. And there's I guess for lack of a better word, an abnormality in it. 2015, there was a huge spike for us. We had 10 residents. Yeah. For people that, it gets a little confusing too, because people who listed their last resident as Hanson. So we had a spike in 2015. That's about the time that we said, hey, we're going to start carrying Narcan, we're going to do something different. And since then, We're still having overdoses, but we're having a number of reversals and saves. So what happens now, since January, we've had 6.
6 reversals.
6 overdoses on 5 incidents. One of them was 2 people in 1 incident.
Okay.
They're not all Hanson residents. We've shared that information. The other towns have gone out and provided services. We go and we've been giving the families of those people options on how to get into counseling or how to get a bed or giving them Narcan. Matter of fact, back in May, I want to thank the First Congregational Church. They hosted, along with myself and Whitman Hanson Will, a overdose prevention class where they taught people how to use the Narcan and different resources they could go to get more education and help. So we've been doing a lot. You don't see it. Obviously, it's not something we really advertise. Hey, we just went and visited so-and-so. We don't do that. But the 2 officers I really wanted to recognize in it is Detective O'Brien and Officer Sullivan. They're my 2 outreach people right now. So they're responsible for making sure the information gets into the data gets into the system that we put together. Every city and town in Plymouth County is involved with this. So you have 27 cities and towns adding to this database. As far as we know, we're the first county, definitely in Massachusetts, if not the country, to do this. And as we go forward, since we gathered some of that historical data that I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to see our success in that rates will be going down and we can get more people help. That leads into Mr. McHugh, the lieutenant's issue. As you know, the lieutenant retired over a year ago, and I've managed without one. I would like to fill that position again. I think it's needed. Well, I don't think it's needed. I know it's needed because I'm a little tired after a year and a half, to be honest with you. But the way that I'd like to fill it is through an assessment center. Is everybody familiar with assessment centers? Instead of a written exam, there could be there's written components to it, but it might be a project or a report that they might have to write, but it's not your traditional multiple choice civil service exam. Although civil service does recognize assessment centers now, so they're widely accepted. Us being non-civil service, we can choose how we want to do promotions or the criteria for it. I present it under the bylaw. I present it. You guys approve it or deny it, and then we start over again if you deny it. But I wanted to do the assessment center. I did it for the sergeants. I like the assessment centers because it tests the individual's abilities, knowledge, and skills. You either know something or you don't. There's no guessing if it's A, B, C, or D. You have to put up and produce. And it's the evaluators are, in this case, would probably be chiefs, deputy chiefs, captain level or above. It worked out very, very well with the sergeant's exam. We took promoted 3 off of that test. All 3 are doing great. What I'd like to do is do that again. We put out requests to 5 or 6, I think it was 6 total, companies. We got responses from 5. From that, I've talked to Mr. McHugh a number of times. I gave my priority, or what I thought would be the best top 3. We kind of agreed on the top 2. The top 2 was Badge Quest and integrity testing. I like Badge Quest, but to be fully forthcoming, Badge Quest did the assessment center that you people hired me on, so I may be a little impartial to them, but they also did the sergeant's exam, and I think they did a great job. Mr. McHugh, if you want to add anything on integrity testing.
Yeah, as the chief mentioned, we went back and forth for quite some time, over a length of time, because we wanted to make sure we did this properly. And my recommendation, and I'm going to ask the Board of Selectmen to allow me, to vote to allow me to execute an agreement with Integrity. They not only given the chiefs comments a few seconds ago, but they also did come in at the lowest cost. So for all those reasons, I would like to move as quickly as possible to engage Integrity to start the ball rolling. So I would ask for the selectmen's support on that in the form of a vote, and then I believe the chief is going to ask you to also vote on some of the conditions of the actual testing.
I'm sorry, so Mike, Integrity, have we kicked the tires on that? We've checked with other towns that have used them?
Yeah,
and
there's
they feel
quite, they have quite a lengthy resume and quite a lengthy list of references, and yes,
Okay.
between the chief and I, we've done that sort of research.
All right, thank you.
So just to be clear, you both are good with Integrity?
Right.
Is that
that's
correct?
what
Yeah,
I
I'm
was-
fine with
Because
it.
I wasn't sure you were saying badge quest.
I rated them 1 through 5, and I had Badge Quest first, Integrity second,
Okay,
but Integrity came in at a lower dollar figure.
Oh, okay,
And I'm not the procurement person, so
okay.
I have no objection to
okay,
Integrity.
all right.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to allow Town Administrator Mike Q to go with integrity testing as the assessment center for the lieutenant's position.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion or any questions? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0, Mike.
Thank you. We'll get on that right away.
What was the conditions?
Well, I'm gonna go over those. This is a second issue that you have to deal with. Under the town bylaw, I present to you promotional requirements, and you either agree to them or you don't. So I was gonna present them to you now. I don't know if you got the list.
I
I thought I was supposed to be handed out now,
think we
right?
just got I think we got item 2, which was the
It would
report.
start off with 1 eligibility.
I don't think we will.
No, I don't think we got them, Mike.
No, this is, you don't have it in your packets.
No.
I just got it
All right,
before the meeting, so.
This information is fairly straightforward. I don't think anything that would be
Thank you.
too out of the ordinary.
So these are the promotional requirements, right, Mike?
Correct, sir. So I'll go over them quick. Eligibility, it would be open to Hanson police officers, Hanson police sergeants with a minimum of 3 years of employment as a full-time Hanson police sergeant at the time of the assessment. I went through a number of years since they made lieutenant's position, I think back in the 80s. And every one I found, that was a requirement. And it makes sense. I have some newer sergeants, they're great, they're doing great. But sometimes you need to climb the ladder and
Do the
and
time.
figure out everything along the way
Sure.
to help get further ahead on the ladder. So the eligibility is nothing new. That's been standard in the past. Eligibility list is based on a competitive examination process. The chief, this is the bylaw. The chief will make recommendation to the town administrator and board of selectmen from the eligibility list that will be established based on the criteria below. The chief will make his recommendation from one of the top 3 candidates for each position. If a tie score occurs, the tie will be broken by seniority. Lieutenant appointments will be made subject to a 1-year probationary period. Once the list is established, the list will remain active for a 2-year period from the date of the first appointment. Usually when we do promotion exams, you leave the list open for a while. If somebody retires, God forbid somebody gets hurt, and you need to fill that position, you don't want to keep going through this process every time that it happens. So this is actually right in line with civil service law. Not that we need to follow civil service law, but there's precedent. The assessment center, this is a notification that'll be given to the officers. It just describes the outlay of the assessment center, when it'll happen, which I'll fill in the blanks once we've made an agreement with a company and established dates. This seems to be somewhat new, the next part. Education, I want to give points for having advanced degrees. The officers, there's two systems in the department right now based on the contract and based on state law. You have what's known as the Quinn Bill, which was the police incentive. Some officers fall under the Quinn bill. The state changed that, I think it was 2009, September 2009. So new officers didn't get the Quinn bill. So for towns and cities to stay competitive with the officers, many have offered a modified Quinn bill, which our police contract currently does. So they have to have a degree in one of the qualifying subjects that falls under the Quinn bill. So law enforcement, criminal justice, sociology, psychology. There's one more that escapes me because I don't have my degree in any of those.
Okay.
Military experience, and we don't have many veterans, unfortunately. Well, I shouldn't say that. The officers do a great job, but I'm impartial to veterans. We only currently have 2 employees that are veterans right now. I'd like to see more apply in the future, but I think it's important for setting precedent in the future that a military veteran gets points as well.
Sure.
And then the last thing is seniority. Seniority would be based on complete years of service as a sergeant with the Hanson Police Department. A maximum of 5 points would be awarded for seniority as follows. It breaks it down into 3 years, a point, 4 to 7, 3 or more years, a point, 4 to 7 years, 3 points, 8 or more years, 5 points. The reason that I think that is important as well is you have officers that come in and they do their job and they have gone up the ladder, but opportunities don't always open themselves up. Right. Plus, there is a lot to be said for seniority in that usually the officers that have been around the longest, between the institutional knowledge, the knowledge of the community, as well as their law enforcement experience, greatly adds to their leadership ability.
Excellent.
Um,
Laura?
Chief, how many of your sergeants would be
Eligible.
eligible?
Okay. So, thank you. I missed explaining this point too. Currently, 2 sergeants would be.
Okay.
What I requested for pricing and what I would ask is that all sergeants be allowed to take part in the assessment center. And those who do, when they hit their 3-year mark, would then go on the list. My reasoning for this is a couple of things. One, we've got a precedent set with the 3-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
2, I think as a sergeant, most sergeants are really kind of, they're ready to move on sometimes at about the 5-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, all the sergeants I have are doing a great job, but there's something to be said for experience in that role too.
So every sergeant you'd like to see take the assessment?
Because it's an educational opportunity for them.
And those records will be retained in their folders?
And how many would that be?
There's a max of 5. I have 5 sergeants
Right.
right now.
Okay.
Yep.
And didn't you say that the pricing is, so, like, this isn't gonna cost us more money to have the 5 versus
If I
the
go
2?
over 5, it would
Yeah,
cost
okay,
more.
yeah.
Right.
When you put out your request for this, you usually do, the cutoff is usually 3. If some companies, it doesn't matter whether they're gonna do 1 or 5. If, in most anything over 5 costs more. One quote was $850 per candidate. When you look around, if you ever watch when they do this for chiefs and stuff, you usually see they narrow it down, and Selectman Mitchell was on that
committee.
search committee, and
Yeah.
what did you narrow it down to? 5, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
normal. So it won't cost any more, and I really wouldn't save any more by doing it the other way.
But it's a good opportunity, yeah.
I think the educational experience
Yeah.
value to those sergeants is worth any difference that somebody may give me.
Right.
Okay.
Plus, it's good to, well, it's good use of our time with that center. and
The
making-
assessment centers are becoming the norm. Like I said, once civil service jumped on, and again, I hate to compare back to them, but they're kind of a litmus test on what's tolerated in the state, and they're usually at the backside of progressiveness. And this is a common thing that's happening now. A lot of civil service departments are starting to use assessment centers. A lot of this information too, this eligibility requirements, I didn't make up myself. I actually spoke to Dennis, which is a non-civil service community, and how they've been doing it for years. So they gave me some ideas and pointers on, this criteria.
Mike, are you looking for a vote from us or something in acceptance
Yeah,
of
we
this?
have to vote, I think.
On this, is that correct?
My understanding is you'd have to accept this criteria.
Okay.
Yeah, my accept, under
That's
the
right, so you are
bylaw, that
looking
is
for
my
a-
understanding.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to accept the promotional requirements as discussed for the lieutenant
So
position.
moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion. Are there any questions? Donnie, did you have a question? No. Jim?
Chief, the only question I have would be that you made this up. Am I correct?
Yes.
So I guess I have more of a statement than a question then, would be, who would know more about the position that you want filled than you? So, I mean, I would agree with this, 100%. It just, I mean, I think it's a formality that we're doing this. But if, you would be the guy to go to get these positions filled, and especially with the sergeants, even though they may not be ready, that made the most sense to me too, is that they may not have their 3 years in, but now they'll be in the system and ready to go, so.
Just, I actually, if I could add one more thing, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Historically, what happened with some of the sergeant promotions in the past and the lieutenant's promotion is they would put together like an oral board, maybe have a written exam. There was a number of different ways, and it was agreed upon by each chief with each board of selectmen. And what I've been trying to do is see what's the best practice going on in the profession across the state and trying to set precedent now for the future. There was some questions in the past, or in fairness to the people who get the position, make the promotion, in the past sometimes if you set up an oral board and I go and pick chiefs that I'm friendly with or I know, there's always the doubt as to how fair it was. When I'm picking a company and I don't even know who the assessors are gonna be, I may know some of them, but I wouldn't know that until the day they get there.
Right.
This is the most fair and impartial way we can do something.
Right.
And I think that goes a long way with the people who come on top and the people who don't make it to the top.
Right.
They know they got a fair shake,
Yeah.
and they were treated fairly
Yep.
and reasonably. And I think this meets all of that.
And it
Absolutely.
removes any of the appearance of any bias that you may have on, that somebody might have. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I like about this is, let's face it, you need a number two guy. If we're thinking about who would we want to be your replacement some years up the road.
Well,
these are
hopefully
probably
it's
all-
some years up the road.
It would be.
We can discuss that later. It's not on the agenda,
No,
though.
it's not on the agenda. These would be the types of things that would probably be looking for. So it makes sense to me that this is what you're looking for the promotion, because ultimately that's what we'd be looking for too, so.
I mean, one of my biggest responsibilities to the town, I think, is to make sure that there's not one person, but a couple of people at least that can take my place. It's, the most successful departments usually work that way. They've got a good grooming or mentorship programs, and we bring people up. And I think the assessment centers help to bring the cream of the crop up, to be honest with you.
I think a succession plan is important for just about every department that we've got, particularly for you.
Especially
And,
as leaders.
and I think it's important for morale for the department, for people to see people advancing, and so I applaud you, I think it's great.
Makes the administrator's job a little easier too,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, if there's nothing further, I would, a motion's been made and seconded, I would call to vote to accept the promotional requirements as discussed by Chief Mix of the lieutenant's position. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0, Mary. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so I'm going to pull us out of, back up into item number 3, Mike. Town Administrator's Report, if you would, sir.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be brief on each of
Thank you,
these.
Mike. I appreciate your allowing us to skip.
Oh, of course. I think that we've listed under my report, a first item, Selectmen's goals, and that was, basically I put that there because I wanted to see if there were any other goals, any other members that wish to perhaps give me other goals to put in the list that I think we've started to put together at the last meeting and previous meetings. So I would not necessarily to ask you to verbalize it unless you wish to, but I just wanted to solicit again to make sure the Board of Selectmen, each member of the Board of Selectmen knows that I certainly welcome any other items, any other input, and my hope is that at the next meeting, I will have a formalized list that I can present to the selectmen, we can all come to an agreement that this is what the board as a whole wishes to move forward on.
I know Laura and I gave you, and I only gave two,
Yeah.
Laura gave the majority. But I also want to point out too, Mike, that we deal on a weekly basis almost, and you and I talk to each other almost every day. Goals, we have things come up almost every week, where recently we had what was the Cedar, what was it called? Cedar?
Oh, the Great Cedar.
Great Cedar, right? The Great
Yeah.
Cedar roadway there, where all those issues were on the infrastructure for the roadway.
Yeah.
I understand that some of those have been taken care of, and some of the other ones are still pending, so great work on that. I appreciate it.
But I think the point you're making is that these might be long-term goals, but we're still gonna be responsive to the
Right,
day-to-day
to the
stuff
day-to-day
that's
stuff.
coming up. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So,
That's, yeah, the nature of the beast.
yep, thank you.
So again, I just invite any members of the board who, and even those members that have already given me some of their goals, please get in touch with me and we'll add them on. And like I said, hopefully we can sort of bring it full circle to the next meeting and maybe at that point, with a full board discussion, we knock one or two off because the full board isn't interested, but we can have that, on the agenda for the next meeting.
And Mike, I think, that sounds awesome, and I think, probably prioritize, because
Yes, oh, yes,
all the
yes.
same priorities, some,
Yes.
are gonna take a lot longer
Yes.
than others, and, yeah.
Well, then I'd rather say them now, Mike,
Yeah.
than, talk to you later about it.
Yeah.
But, because I did not speak on it the last time. But with the situation with Plymouth County Hospital,
Yeah.
the possibility of solar panels
Mm-hmm.
either there or possibly, the transfer station, there's got to be a place that we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was a cell tower. Cell phone reception in Hanson is the worst. And
We
I
have some
think-
ideas of some backup. I know that, they had been that back and forth prior to me getting here in regards to putting something behind the fire station, and that just wasn't gonna work out. And since then, I've had some kind of offline conversations with some staff about some potential sites that we currently own as well that might make sense. So, yeah,
Okay.
that, for sure. And the solar, yeah, actually, there have been conversations, not only in regards to the Plymouth County Hospital property, but some other locations. I'd be happy to share those when I get a little bit more
And I
information.
know there's some stipulations that it would have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's just, like you said, if we put it down on paper, then we can.
Oh,
go
yes,
from there.
yep. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna touch upon that a little bit more when we get to the update on Plymouth County Hospital, because I've had some preliminary discussions that I'll get into when we get to that. So, yep, added on, I've added it on. The McQuon School Transition Committee, I wanted to report that I had been in touch with the superintendent of the high school, of the district, and I also spoke with the chairman of the school committee, and they don't anticipate having a formal meeting to appoint somebody for a couple more weeks. However, in my discussions with the chairman, he said he would reach out to the Hanson residents who are members of that board and poll them and get a pretty good idea prior to that meeting as to who would be interested in serving on that. So that moves forward. And they've also indicated that, members of staff as needed will be made available to us as we go forward. And I know, Laura, I think that you had mentioned that you, and I can't remember if we talked about this at the last meeting, but I know you and I had an email correspondence in which you would be interested in being the selectman member of that. I don't recall if we actually voted that, but.
Yeah, I believe-
We
yeah, I
did
believe
vote
we
it.
did, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That sounds like great progress. And I'm wondering, there were a litany of other people, but some that we wanted to be sort of, advisory, in an advisory capacity, and then others that we wanted to appoint, citizens at large.
Yes.
And I really don't want to get, dramatic about this, but it is a rather large-scale project, and it's a lot to look at, and a fairly condensed timeline when you think about all of the various moving parts and things that we've got to analyze, and number of people that are going to be impacted, and the anxiety level around it for a lot of people with little people that want to know what's going on. And I know the schools will really handle a lot of the communication with folks around, the physical transition of their little guys to the schools and who's going to be where in September. But I would really like to get our conversations going just about as soon as we hear from the school committee on who they've got. I know it might sound overzealous, but I'd like to get going on it because we've got a lot to look at.
Oh, I don't disagree, and I share your outlook on that. I think the only difficulty we may encounter is to get the at-large members, so we really need to kind of beat the bushes to get members of the public
Especially
that are interested.
during the announcements, when we have all those
Yeah.
volunteers that we need, but something of that nature is important.
Yes.
Laura, do you have an approximate timeline?
I'd really like to start late August, early September at the very, very latest.
I think that's more than reasonable. We can meet that, I don't think with any, again, let me take a step back. Hoping that we actually have 3 individuals willing to give the time from the public to join us. But as far as putting everything else in place, that's certainly going to happen.
Okay, so you don't mind reaching out to, Mary Collins and some of the other groups that we had talked about? Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome, thank you.
The next item, committee consolidation. You do have a list for your consideration in terms of whether or not,
I didn't give them.
oh, you don't?
I thought you were just gonna go.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I saw your email go out, Mike, asking all the other, didn't you?
Yeah, and then basically that's what I wanted to report out. I have reached out to members of the Memorial Field Trustees, the Thomas Mill Committee, Parks and Fields, and the Rec Commission, as well as, and oddly enough, the Town Forest Committee, in our research, at what was it, 2015?
2014.
2014 town meeting basically shifted all the responsibilities of that committee to the Conservation Commission. However, at an ensuing vote, actually the next vote, the town meeting passed on disbanding this particular committee. So I don't want to say it in this manner, but in a sense, it's a committee without portfolio. But I reached out to them anyways because there are standing members. So what I'm looking to do, and I apologize, Laura, actually, that was what we had emailed about,
okay.
your possible involvement in that committee as well, because I know you have an interest in it.
Yeah, you do.
What I'm looking to do when I hear back in terms of a date that works for all parties, and obviously there are 5 or 6 moving parts in this, so I'm looking to try to get this started sometime in the beginning of August, this discussion. And again, what we would do is have basically a workshop meeting, 1 or 2 representatives, whatever would not constitute a quorum of those committees, and start hashing out what we think makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So we will continue to move forward on that.
All right, thanks, Mike. And yes, I would be more than willing, I would love to slug that out with you and figure out what committee should stay. And just for clarification, so that people don't think that we're just ad hoc getting rid of committees, what we're trying to do is look at efficient use of limited resources and, just kind of take another fresh look at whether these committees are needed or whether it's a little redundant and there might be another committee that can pick up a few tasks without unduly burdening them, that type of thing. So we certainly would welcome input on that.
And we could very well come to the decision that it doesn't make sense to move any of them.
I agree.
I don't think that'll happen, but it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. So
I agree.
I will continue to update the board on that. The next item is marijuana bylaws. As the board is aware, the town meeting voted not to enact a moratorium in terms of retail sale of marijuana. The state has still not come out with really much guidance. I believe that they just finally decided how they were going to move forward with a committee that would oversee creating such guidance. I believe that the law now reads that retail sale of marijuana can commence after the first of the year. And as I don't believe I discussed it at town meeting, but I discussed it immediately afterwards, we need to get in line some sort of bylaws on the books in October, which is our next bite at the apple, in terms of regulating retail marijuana, especially in light of the fact I'm not exactly sure that the state of Massachusetts is going to get its act in gear within the next 6 months.
Well, they got the budget done. They put the
Yeah,
priority,
well,
so,
yes.
yeah. But you're right, Mike.
So I had a meeting with our town planner and with our health agent, because we feel that a lot of this will actually end up coming under the Board of Health, similar to how tobacco is regulated. However, we also feel that a significant amount of it will come under the Board of Selectmen, much as the way alcohol is regulated. So, just to throw it out there for further consideration and further discussion, and my two colleagues are going to do that at their meetings with their respective boards. Our initial suggestion at this point is to basically, in October, include within the current overlay district for medical marijuana, a location for the sale of retail marijuana, the retail sale of marijuana. And that right now is limited to a section over towards the industrial park, towards East Bridgewater.
Yep.
Again, that wouldn't be, at the end of the day, once we get the regulations from the state of Massachusetts, we can then formulate something a little more refined, whether that's something that would include the potential sale at liquor stores or at a tobacconist or what have you. But this is really, in a sense, a stopgap measure so that we have some control over it. We have some sort of regulation over it. So the one thing that I don't want to do, the one thing that I really don't want to do is spend a whole lot of time creating bylaws that could very easily be overturned by the state of Massachusetts once they get their act together. Because as this board is well aware, any bylaws that town meeting passes needs to go to the Attorney General's office for final approval to make sure that they're in concert with whatever the state of Massachusetts laws are. So, again, not to sound like a broken record, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, a whole lot of manpower, a whole lot of effort in putting something together that we could very well see cast asunder. But we do need to have something in place.
Some common sense ones, yeah.
Exactly. And I think, just putting it there for the time being gives us that degree of control that I think we're going to need.
At least the zoning handles one part of what we need to be handling.
Yeah.
I agree. The rest, we're gonna have to kind of see what ends up happening. Yeah.
So I will report back again and keep the board updated when my colleagues get back to me with their board's respective opinions as such.
But again, you're expecting that will be a warrant article?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I think
And
that's,
it would have to go through the planning board because it would be a zoning change and they'd have to have their hearings and whatnot.
that's good direction, Mike.
The next item is health insurance. What I am going to propose, and I don't have the wording put together yet, but I wanted to make sure it was out there for the board to be aware of and hopefully be supportive of. The bylaws and the wage and personnel policies, they're a little vague in terms of health insurance. Basically, we just offer, it just basically says that full-time and part-time employees to a certain amount of hours shall be afforded access to health insurance. That's similar to the insurance that's offered to other people in town, the unions and whatnot. What I would like to do is put together in a proper way, again for consideration in October, because I do believe it would need to be voted by town meeting. I would like to change going forward the contribution ratio from 80-20 for the family plan and 90-10 for the single plan for new employees, not to affect current employees, and not to affect current employees who have some sort of, I forget what the word is, a significant event in life when they need to change from single
Marriage.
to marriage or backwards.
Yeah.
But to protect the current employees, but going forward, that any new employees would then come under that particular cost split. I think as we look around, both in private and in public, we find that the current offerings that the town of Hanson gives to employees is quite generous.
Yep.
As the board is aware, this year we saw a 16% increase in health insurance costs. Last year, we saw a 15% increase in insurance costs, and there really doesn't seem to be much of an end to that. So going forward, and again, not to penalize any of the people that work here right now, but going forward, anyone who falls under the wage and personnel program who is eligible for benefits would then be subject to that cost shift change, which is still, compared to a lot of the insurance coverage in the public sector, is still quite generous.
So when you put that together in October, Mike, is it going to be retro from July 1st?
I have to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, I don't anticipate hiring, or you never know what's going to happen.
I understand.
But I don't anticipate hiring anybody into one of those sorts of positions from now until October.
Okay.
I would probably have to talk with council about the off chance that something like that happened.
Right.
But again, it's really just to throw it out there that is another direction that I'd like to go in and like to see be put on the October special town meeting. So again, it won't be a ton of money saved in the first year, but it will accumulate as people matriculate through, we hire new people, and as the cost of health insurance just keeps going up.
And Mike, again, I'm sorry, what were those percentages
That's
versus
75-25?
75?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 65,
And
35.
65-35.
65, 35 is,
That's still pretty generous.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree.
and you can also make that as of year end too, Mike, so that's good too.
Yeah, if need be, we can play with it that way.
Yeah.
I wanted to, the board has, expressed interest in the last couple of meetings in regards to any internal transfers that were done, because that's something basically I sign off on and the FinCom signs off on.
Line items, yeah.
Yep, and we actually only have a very, very minor one that if they haven't already decided it, they'll be deciding it fairly quickly. The FinCom is meeting concurrent to our meeting. It's a very, very simple transfer of $64 to weight and measures, just because we ran a little short in terms of that budget. So I will also mention, although the board has not requested this information, I will mention that the Highway Department will be requesting a transfer of about $3,000 from the reserve fund, not an internal transfer, but from the reserve fund, just to help get through because of some drainage repairs that they had to undertake. Let's see. I wanted to update the board on the state budget process, which seems to be drawing to a conclusion. I'm happy to say, and I think that I raised some concerns in a previous meeting because we had been worried about the fiscal forecast for revenues for the state having a potential impact on local aid and Chapter 90 money, Chapter 70 monies. I'm happy to say that actually both of those increased very slightly. However, they did not decrease. The state, the conference committee has agreed to actually raise the per student contribution from $20 to $30. It really doesn't amount to too much, about $39,000, I'm told, in speaking with the school department. However, that's $39,000 to the good. In addition, local aid got bumped up very slightly, and we will be realizing about $3,500 more in local aid. So all that remains is for the governor to sign off on that. The governor can do some line item vetoes of that particular budget, which you can't do on the federal level, but you can do on the state level. Hopefully, knowing that he is a big supporter and the lieutenant governor are big supporters of municipalities, both of them having been former selectmen, that they will not touch anything that will affect our local aid. And again, it's something I will keep you updated on. Lastly, I wanted to mention, I know the board has had an interest in this, especially the chairman, that Mary and I will be meeting with somebody from the cable access group. We're going to meet with them tomorrow at 10, right?
I put that out there. I don't think he's gotten back to me
Okay.
yet. but-
We will be meeting
close.
with somebody from the cable access company within the next few days to go over training for the new camera sets that have come in. We're also going to schedule, to the best of our ability, a time in which the chairman of the boards that would be broadcasting their, are recording for broadcast, their meetings, to also have the training. We will find a place to secure the equipment, more than likely in our office, since our office can be locked. But we're moving forward on that as well, and hopefully by the end of this month, we'll start seeing some of these meetings broadcast on the cable station.
Will we come up with some sort of interim procedures, Mike, on like how to do it?
Yep,
That would be good.
that's exactly what we're working towards. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, I think that I'm all set until I'll give you some information about the Plymouth County Hospital and where that stands when we get to that part of the agenda.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mike. All right, moving on to new business, which is item 3 on your iPads. We've some donations, vote to approve and accept the donations, item 3. I hope it's okay for me to read their names, Mary. If it's not, please let me know. what
Yes,
it
that should be
is.
fine.
Okay. For June 7th, 2017, we had a donation from Dexter and Susan Robinson of $30 to the Elder Affairs. On June 14th, Richard and Geraldine Davis of $25 to Elder Affairs. On June 16th, 2017, Raymond and Joanne Bergeron of $15 to Elder Affairs. And for June 30th, 2017, the class of 2021 has donated $127 to the DARE program. I would thank each one of those donors for their generous gifts and help to those purposes. I would entertain a motion to accept these donations as read.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Great, thank you. Moving on to the next item, we have I'd like to entertain a motion. We're moving to open the October special town meeting warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any comments of any kind? Mary, when will the warrants be due, finalized? Do you have
I believe,
approximate?
for our August 25th meeting on the
Is it?
calendar.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, I
No,
threw
let
you.
me just look, I think,
It should be on our calendars too, right?
Okay.
I think.
yeah, I thought we put it on the calendar. Let me
We
look.
did, I thought, yeah.
I believe the 21st,
21st of October?
no, the 21st of.
September.
Oh, no, wait a second, I'm in July, sorry.
It's okay.
Um,
It's gotta be in September, right? September
No,
15th?
we'll close the warrant, because we
Yeah.
meet the 29th, I believe. Yeah, I think the 25th. We want all the articles in for the 25th
Of
of
September.
August.
I'm sorry.
And then we'll
You need
close
a-
it on the 29th, because I can't imagine we're gonna be having that many.
Okay,
We'll have to sign the warrants on the 12th of September,
Okay.
with it being posted on the 14th of September.
okay, so I have a motion that has been made and seconded to open the October special town meeting warrant. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you, Mary. Next item I have is item 4 on our iPads, is the road, request for the road to responsibility request for discounted fee at the lodge rental up at Camp Kawani. This is, again, is item 4. The name of the organization is Road to Responsibility. The description of the event is a staff training day. The date and hours of the event are October 5th, 2017, from 8:30 to 4 p.m. And they're requesting a waiver, a fee reduction from $1,000 to $600. The name of representative is Allison D. Mayer, RTR, at 1831 Ocean Street, Marshfield, Mass.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made
They're
and
quite
seconded.
an
Comments?
excellent organization. You know, they help get job skills for folks with learning disabilities and other disabilities, so I think if we can support that.
That's terrific. Are they 501c3 or?
I don't know if they, I suspect that they probably are. I haven't
Okay.
actually looked at their organizational. They may be a nonprofit school, which would be a slightly different nonprofit status, but I believe they are.
All right.
Did
It's,
the rec commission approve it?
Yes, their minutes are in the back,
On the
or probably the
bottom
third document down on your iPad.
Which, yeah, I'm looking at it now, and a couple of the members mentioned what they thought the organization was. So do we know exactly what they are?
It says they are nonprofit.
Okay.
on their minutes, but I wasn't sure if they checked, I'm assuming they checked for their 501c3.
They do teach people with disability, I do know this, I just
You
don't
know
know
that-
if they're a
you know that.
501c3. They teach job skills.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know if they're a 501c3, I can't vouch
And
for
then,
that.
yeah, one of the other members said that they should book as much as they can because we don't make money on wedding rehearsals. So we go back to the point whether, and this is only my take on it, whether they're a 501 or not, they help people
They do
with
help.
disabilities
Yeah.
Yeah.
to get jobs.
Right.
I
They're
believe
doing
they
good.
should get a discount.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
think,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody in disagreement, Jim, on that. So why don't we move to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the next item we have is the resignation of Jane Baker from the Council of Elder Affairs effective July 1st, 2017. That's item 5. She writes, "Dear Board of Selectmen members, I have served on the Council of Elder Affairs Board for well over 8 years, most recently serving in the capacity of chairman. It is with regret that I notify your board of my departure from the council effective July 1st, 2017, and shall be moving from Hanson shortly. It's been a pleasure to serve on the council and work closely with Mary Collins, the Director of Elder Affairs, and other board members. I implore the town of Hanson, the Board of Selectmen, to recognize the value and importance of our seniors in the Hanson community, many of whom helped build this town by funding the entire operation of our wonderful senior center." And I would entertain a motion to accept with regret Jane Baker's resignation.
So moved.
Second.
Further comments?
I'd say touche, Jane. You're right.
Thank you.
Yep. Great. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next we have is the acceptance from, we asked Mary, as we were reorganizing or determining the members of each boards.
What about number 6, Matt?
That's item 6, yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm talking about right now. Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Mark Gomes, we had written him a letter on June 14th asking if he still wanted to remain on that board, which was, actually, it should be
Memorial Field, right?
Memorial
Actually,
Field
that was
Trustees.
Memorial Field, which he was elected to, even though it was changed from elected to appointed by vote.
Right.
He got the most votes for that particular term.
As a term, okay.
So the board subsequently voted to appoint him to the committee, and when I sent him the letter, he sent back saying that he doesn't want to serve,
Okay,
so.
I see that.
And that was, it's incorrectly posted on the warrant, on the agenda as Parks and Fields, but it's actually Memorial Field Trustees.
Right.
We knew what you meant.
I would entertain a motion to accept with regret
So moved.
resignation of Mark
Second.
Gomes from the Memorial Field of Trustees. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
Memorial Field
Yes.
Trustees, yes.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Nothing under old business, am I correct in that? Because now we're starting to identify items as we discuss them, right, on our agendas?
Yes, we'll probably start having old business fairly soon.
We're gonna have to put that on there, okay. So with item 7, I have the one-day liquor license at Camp Kawani,
Do them all at once.
and I'll do them all at once. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Miss Kathleen Collins, Quincy, for Friday, August 4th, 6 to 11 p.m. wedding. A Bailey Rada from Quincy, Saturday, August 5th at 5 to 10 p.m. It's a wedding. South Shore Realtor, Pembroke, Thursday, August 9th, from 5:30 to 9:30, fundraiser. Stacy Moscos at East Bridgewater, from East Bridgewater, forgive me, at Saturday, August 12th, from 5 to 10 p.m. It's a wedding. Ashley Thompson, South Weymouth, Friday, August 18th, from 6 to 11 p.m., a wedding. Erin Kent, Blackstone, Friday, August 25th, 5 to 10 p.m. wedding. Amber Madison, South Weymouth, Saturday, August 26th, 3 to 10, a wedding. I would entertain a motion to accept the one-day liquor license.
Second.
Motion made and seconded as read. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. We are tabling the June 27th minutes for the next time, and we will move on to committee reports. The Monpont Pond Committee, Mr. Howard.
Monpont Pond has been treated with alum. I got the count the other day, it's the lowest in 5 years. I think it was under 3,000 parts per cells per million. But on that note, I'd like to also say that, you know, Hanson, Halifax especially, and Hanson have worked together to treat the pond. And Brockton has yet put any money in to help treat the water that they take. And I think that's terrible. I think if Brockton's taking water from the ponds and we're letting them, I think they should pay for the part of the treatment that we try to do to help the water get clean before they take it.
Have we asked them?
I don't know if anybody has or not.
Do we have?
No, I know that they have been asked,
They have been asked.
but we've never
No
received
response.
any good reports from it. I'd just like to make the townspeople know that Hanson and Halifax are working together to keep the water clean. Because sometimes Hanson has to use their water, so, which I regret because it costs so much money, but that's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Well, but do we have any leverage to,
No,
Prevail
there's none
upon
whatsoever,
Brockton?
because we can't shut their water off.
and we don't have an agreement where they've agreed to
Not
pay
that I
any
know
of
of, there's
that?
any agreement at all. They used to come to the meetings, but in all the meetings, the past meetings I've been to, nobody's been representing Brockton.
So why can't you cut the water off if there's no agreement?
Well, they've got their
Because
two
it's a state,
24-inch
there's a whole
pipes
state.
that go through Hanson that we have no control of, and we can't touch theirs, and they can't touch ours.
Selectman Howard probably knows this better than I do, but I believe that probably around the turn of the century, last century, the city of Brockton went to the state legislature and got a lot of.
Well, that was
Oh,
1964.
this one was 64? Just because I have experience when I was in Avon, and there's a similar situation in Avon where the Brockton Reservoir sits in Avon, and basically Brockton had gone to the state legislature and gotten legislation that allowed them to do what they're doing now, which apparently happened in 64
same
here.
thing in-
So it's, the towns in which these reservoirs sit really don't have a lot of control at all over that flow, unfortunately. And it is a bone of contention, again, not only here in the town of Hanson, but in several other communities. To include, I would imagine, Kingston with Silver Lake, and
Yep.
like I said, Avon with the reservoir there.
I mean, but you're right, Don, if we just let that water go and they're drawing from it, I'm not, obviously, we
No.
don't wanna do that because we've got our own residents, you know, using it, but I
Well,
mean,
they built the dam on Stump Brook so that they could elevate the level of the Monpont ponds to a level of 52 feet above sea level. Because when they're drawing water from the pond, it has to be above that level for them to draw it. But there's been times during the summer, like now, and when they treat the alum, it'd be nice to be able to lower the pond to the level of the river that it used to be, because it'd be less area of water that you have to treat. And they've never tried to help either Halifax, well, Halifax is mainly the biggest contributor to the water. Hanson just has a little small part on the northern part of it. But it seems to me that Brockton should be involved in it more than they are. This has gone along too long, and
You know, just as a,
people don't know about it, but this new Central Plymouth County Central Water Division that I also am in, we've got Josh Cutler and Tom Coulter and Mike Brady that are working along with us, like Tom Kennedy used to when he was on it. And they're all from Brockton, and they can see what's going on, but still nothing can be done about it because of the legislature that they received in 1964. So I'll be honest, we're trying to work on that too, but that's going to be a long, drawn-out process. I hope I'm alive when it's done.
oh God, Don.
I think if you've got Senator Brady and Josh,
Yeah.
and you're
I've also,
reaching out to them.
I saw also some of the senators and congressmen are involved with it too.
Thank you, Donnie, for that report. Next, we have the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee. I know that's Don Howard, but I also know that during the town
I think
administrator's
Mike's
report-
going to do that.
Yeah, Mike,
Yeah, I can bring the board a quick update on that. I've met with the committee it was last Thursday, I believe, and we discussed the possibility of bringing in a consultant to do some planning in terms of the think the priority of that committee, which I think was ratified by the Board of Selectmen, of putting a park in there. So we're having discussions on two different companies that we've talked to in terms of moving forward with something like that. So hopefully we'll have something to report out after the next meeting with this particular committee. There were only 3 people present at the meeting, and they had wanted to see a little bit more information as well, and to have a full board. So hopefully we might be able to report something back at the next meeting. In addition to that, I wanted to report to the board, and it gets a little bit into what Selectman Hickey had asked me. I did reach out about a week and a half ago to the communities in the area, actually the communities throughout Massachusetts on one of the listservs that I belong to see what experiences they have had with engaging a solar broker to guide the municipality through the process of placing solar fields on municipal property. And within the next few days or so, we're going to arrange a conversation with a solar broker that comes highly recommended, and get an idea of what sort of assistance they may be able to give to us. Of course, none of us obviously are experts in that particular field, and it's something that gets very technical, very specific. So again, it's something that hopefully we can update the board on at the next meeting in terms of whether or not we're going to move forward with that.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
Yeah, also on that, Mike, Brian even told me, and I've been up there and looked, but I think those roadway with the 2 pillars should be blocked off
Yeah.
there, because there's been cars going in there
Yeah.
now and driving all over it. And if we've gone through all the trouble of trying to fix things, I think we ought to try to keep it that way.
Yep.
I took the liberty of riding up there on my motorcycle, I think it was Sunday. So I saw
You see
the
the
field.
tracks up
It's a big grassy field. It looks really
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it does,
you
doesn't
know?
it?
Yeah. And this rain we've had,
Very
it's
nice.
just beautiful for it.
Yeah, it's all nice and green. It's amazing to
It's
see.
hard to believe it was ever there.
Yeah, and I was impressed with the cleanup. They even took out that other building, the smaller one that was
So everything's
destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Everything
on.
was removed and grassed.
yeah, nice job. So it must have been good soil with all the grass that grew up there, how green it
Well,
is.
they put loam on it.
They did, yeah, it looks really nice. Next, we have the Hanson School Repair Committee, Mr. Hickey.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing to report this time, okay. Mr. Mitchell on the Highway Building Committee.
We posted a meeting for Monday, so we're gonna be meeting at 6 PM at the Highway Barn. And I reached out to, there'll be a rep from Weston and Sampson there, so we're gonna kinda reconvene and get right back to it. So hopefully, I'll have some more information for you in a couple weeks.
Next meeting.
Hey,
Wow.
Kenny, did we get a FinCom rep?
No, not yet.
Okay,
They were gonna try tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
well,
working on
maybe-
it. They're
but they-
limited staff.
yeah,
We'll get 4.
I'm
So,
sure.
they're
I
gonna-
know.
they're
Well,
gonna-
and I think we just got another resignation, didn't we? I don't know if I'm losing it or,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you're not.
So now
you're
they're
not
down to
losing it.
4.
yeah.
Down to 4. We actually,
So-
just before this meeting.
Mike said
we bumped
he would do the best he can, you know, he couldn't guarantee making every meeting, but he was gonna get back to us, so he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said he
talk to
would,
them.
he wouldn't mind being it.
Yeah.
Mike Dugan from the chairman. from-
Good, that'd be great. Thanks.
Excellent. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn.
No flies on
All
you,
those in
Don.
favor, say aye.
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 Good night.
Meeting adjourned. Good night. Thank you all for coming.